I'll be talking about the local trials that we have conducted with the various, at the registration phase and with the various growers. And I'll talk about the compatibility test as well. So we've done quite a lot of trials with the product, and in terms of phytotoxicity, we've tested over 60 varieties, 61 listed here, but there are more than that. And Solvit is crop safe in all the varieties that we tested, and this is across the country, the 5 flower growing regions. Other than roses, we've also done some work on other crops. Solidago, this is a site in Thika area. Then we did some work on hederas, which can also be called English ivies. This is a site in Limuru. We've done some work on veronicas. This is a site in Naivasha. And we also did some trials on carnations in Naivasha. So looking at the efficacy results, these are registration trials for purposes of registration. In one of the sites in Thika, we did on 3 different varieties. The first trial was conducted in variety upper class, and then the second and third season was conducted on variety Beleros. The trial was replicated 4 times. We used a water volume equivalent of 1,500 liters per hectare. We did 3 applications, and the data represented here is a summary of the 3 seasons. So this is an average for the 3 seasons on the 3 varieties. According to our trials, looking at the 3 seasons, it was effective in the control. Solvit was effective in the control of powdery mildew, and it was better than the standard used. In this case, we used dodemov acetate, and the results were consistent in the 3 seasons. The next site is Kericho. All the 3 trials were done on a yellow variety Viva. The trial was replicated 4 times. We used 1,500 liters per hectare. And again, this is a summary of the 3 seasons. We compared with the dodemov acetate, and in this instance, Solvit was better than the standard, and the results were consistent. Going to the next site in Naivasha, we did the 3 seasons in variety red calypso. It's a trial replicated 4 times. This time we worked with 1,000, and we looked at the percentages during the 3 seasons, and these are the results. And Solvit was comparable. I mean, the 0.75 and 1 was not so different, and it was slightly better than the standard used. So the results were also consistent in the 3 seasons, and it was good in the control of powdery mildew. In another site in Naivasha, we did the 3 trials in 3 different varieties. So we did on wild calypso, Valentino, and red calypso. And then we compared with the 3 standards that are commonly used. So we had bipyrimate, spiroxamine, and dodemov acetate. And Solvit 0.75 and 1 was comparable to the standard used. And we can conclude it was effective in the control of powdery mildew. So I'm going to look at so for Solvit, if you'll forget any other thing, just remember these 3 points. It's fast in action, it has curative action, and it has residual control. So those are the 3 key points I would like you to carry home after this presentation. So we did a trial to look at the fast action, curative action, and residual control of Solvit. And in this trial, we we're looking at how many hours does it take for you to see activity on the fungi once you apply Solvit. And we observed in a period of 48 hours. And you can see within 48 hours in the Solvit area, there's nothing. So the spores they brown or they gray and then darken, and then you have nothing after 48 hours. So Solvit is fast acting. We looked at curative action once you apply, and then you observe over a period. So you observed over a period of 7 days, and within the 7 days, we didn't see new spores coming. So Solvit is curative in action. And then we observed the trial area, we did the 3 rounds, and then observed, after the 3rd application, we observed over a period of 21 days, and we didn't see new infections. So the application was done at 5 days interval for this variety. The trial was done on variety Furiosa. So we can confidently we are talking about 2 to 3 weeks. So for this variety, we got 3 weeks. Based on the various practice, which differ from farm to farm, in terms of water volume, we also tested, does water volume has an impact on the application, on the effectiveness of the product when the water volume is varied and the product rate kept constant. So in this trial, we worked with 0.75, but varied the water volume from 1,000 to 2,000. And you can see there's not much difference when you increase, when you vary the water volume. So it's always our advice that you use the optimum water volume to avoid runoff, especially if you use too much water. So in conclusion, Solvit will give you activity within 48 hours. It is curative, so it has a powerful curative action, and it will give you a longer residual control of up to 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the variety. So I'm going to look at compatibility work, and we worked with the IPM service providers that conduct these trials. So we looked at the beneficials that commonly used at the grower level, and we looked at Amblycias californicas, Amblycias cucumeris, and Phytoscillas passimilis. And on californicas, this is a site in Thika. It's a lab bioassay test. The water volume equivalent used was 1,000, and the trial was replicated 4 times, and we looked at the 3 different rates of Solvit. And from this data, we saw that Solvit didn't have an adverse effect on Amblycias californicas. In a different site, this is Naivasha. The best population for this trial was, we started with 10 predatory mites. This is a trial in Naivasha. The best population was 20, so we started with 20 predatory mites and then observed the impact of the product on the beneficial. So it is also a lab test, water volume based on 1,000. We looked at the 3 different rates of Solvit, and from these studies, we concluded that Solvit was harmless to the Amblycias californicas. So we also calculated the mortality rate, and we shall see the implication of this mortality as we proceed. So the mortality for these different rates basically was below 25% across the 3 different Solvit rates. So it has low mortality rate, and we shall see, according to IOABC, what percentage is classified as harmless. This is on Amblycias cucumeris, looking at the impact of the population of cucumeris, best population 20, and it's a lab bioassay test, water volume based on 1,000. And on cucumeris, it had no adverse effect as well. On Phytoscillas passimilis, the best population here is 20, a lab test, bioassay, water volume based on 1,000, and we looked at the 3 different water volumes, and we saw no negative effects. And when we calculated the mortality, it was about 5%, which is within the acceptable limit. And in conclusion, as I mentioned about the IOEBC classification, this is the IOEBC table, how they classify the compatibility of the product based on the kill. So for the 3 beneficials that we looked at, Amblicious cucumeris, Amblicious californicas, and Phytoscillus passimilis, it was below 25%. And so we can say that the product is harmless to the common beneficials that we are using currently. So we also did some studies to look at the degradation of Solvit once you apply. And this is very important based on our recommendation of 3 successive sprays before you move to another mode of action. So this is a study where we collected samples from the treated area with a liter per hectare. And then sampling was done after first application, 1 week after the 3rd application, 2 weeks, and 3 weeks after the last spray. And we collected samples from the bottom, mid, and top canopies, and a composite of 300 gram sample was collected. And the analysis was done in Netherlands. I will not try to pronounce the name, but it was done in this laboratory here. So these are the results. And you can see after the last spray, this is after how many sprays? If you remember how many sprays we are talking about? How many sprays? 3. So this is after the 3rd spray. And you can see you have the highest concentration of the AIs. And then from the first week, 2nd going to 3rd week, you see the products, the AI starts to degrade. So Solvit will degrade with time, and there is no risk of buildup of the AI within the plant. But at the same time, it will still give you the residual control that we are guaranteeing of up to 3 weeks. So this is important so that you do the 3 rounds successively, and then you get the residual control. Then you can move to the other mode of actions. In terms of the grower trials, we've worked with quite a number of growers across the country. And in Athi River Isinya area, we worked with 6 growers. Naivasha, we worked with around 9 farms. In Nakuru, we worked with 11 farms. North Rift, 6 farms. Nairobi, Limuru, 5 farms. Thika, 5. Mount Kenya, around 7 farms. So in total, we've worked with 49 farms from last year up to this year. So this is one of the sites where we tested on a variety Belarus. So on Belarus, we compared with Dodemov. Unfortunately for this, we didn't look at residual control, but you can see compared to the farm standard, Solvit was better. And these are 3 applications done at 5 days interval. So it was excellent in powdery mildew control. In Naivasha, on a variety Lady Susanna. And we did 3 rounds at 5 days interval. And this is 2 days after the first application, 2 days after second application, 2 days after 3rd application. And then from there, this is after the last spray. Then we observed for a period of 21 days. And you see the blackening of PM spores after Solvit application. And then the treated area remains clean. So remember, we are talking about preventative and curative action. So for the places where we tagged clean stems, they remain clean for the period of the trial and up to the time the residual control. And for the infested area, you clean up the crop. This is in Naivasha still. We looked at 2 varieties, Lovely, Jubilee, and Crossfire. We did 3 successive sprays at 5 days interval, and then observed over a period of 21 days, 2 days after first spray, 2 days after second spray, 2 days after 3rd spray. Then we kept the area without any other treatment, so we got 3 weeks residual control. Naivasha still, this is on a different variety, Inca. Inca is very susceptible So for this site, which is still good for Solvit, it's one of the most sensitive varieties that we have, and we got 14 days, yeah. So after the third spray, 1 week, then 2 weeks later. So we got very good results on Inca as well. This is on a site in Nakuru. We tested on classical sensation. It's a spray rose. And we did 3 successive sprays, then observed for 3 weeks, and we got 21 days, yeah. So it was excellent in control and gave long-lasting control as well. This is a site in Naivasha, different variety, Athena. Athena is also sensitive, but also for this variety, we just terminated the trial a week. I mean, the area was sprayed before the 3 weeks, but still we got very good results comparing with the standards, boscalid and cresoxim and spiroxamine. So you can see Solvit gave good results compared to the standards. In Athi River, a different farm, Beleros, 3 applications, 5 days interval. Then we tagged the area and we got good control with Solvit compared to dodemorph acetate. We did some work on hederas, also known as English ivies, and we are looking at black spots comparing to the grower practice and the Solvit. And for this site, we observed up to 2 weeks after the 3 rounds of application. And you can see for Solvit, compared to the grower practice, was better. So it was excellent against the black spots, and it gave longer lasting control compared to the grower practice.